Get yourself to okjersey.com where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN, as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. With only 15 days until the transfer window opens, I'm going to be bringing you daily, where possible, live transfer shows each night to discuss all of the latest Premier League transfer tittle-tattle and answer any questions and thoughts that you guys throw me in the comments. So get them in tonight's show. I'll be talking about Manchester United's hunt to overhaul their squad, what Liverpool are going to do about Mo Salah and Mark Guehi's next club, amongst many other reports. I'll also be keeping an eye on the goings-on in the Manchester United against Bournemouth game that is just about to kick off. So stick with me, guys. Thank you for joining me on the channel once again. Really appreciate all of your support, both here on YouTube and over on TikTok for daily Premier League transfer news. Obviously, as a Spurs fan, it's been a difficult day. I will be back with my usual daily Spurs news tomorrow morning, but just wanted to talk to you guys in a bit more of a kind of Q&A type way tonight, give you the chance to get your thoughts in. TJ says, Barnaby, wish me well on my exam on Wednesday, please. It's a big one. Good luck in your exam, TJ. And Big Yid 1604 says, of all the managers to seemingly stick by, I don't think Thomas Frank is the one. Well, the latest reports coming out this evening, just to start with my club, Tottenham, are that they're kind of conflicting reports. The kind of official line coming out of the club is that they are going to stick with Thomas Frank and try and give him the chance to make cultural changes within the club. However, some other reports suggesting that that's kind of a public line, and actually they're really thinking about changing him. Ibrahim on TikTok says, my patience is wearing thin with Frank. Big Yid 1604 says, bit of an odd one, but if Xabi Alonso were to be sacked by Real, I think Liverpool would have their eye on him. What do you think about us bringing in Arne Slot if he gets sacked by Liverpool? Well, Arne Slot turned down Spurs, didn't he, before we got Big Ange, if memory serves. So, yeah, I don't think taking I don't know. I don't know. He's won a league, so it's hard to say that we couldn't, or shouldn't get him. But Man United, by the way, in on goal here, they've taken it wide. Another chance blocked. Anyway, let's get into some of that transfer tittle-tattle. French Toast says, Frank reminds me of Nuno 2.0. Yeah, I've been saying this for a while. Watching Spurs under Thomas Frank is just like watching Nuno ball. Very, very frustrating. I don't know if getting managers who've just been sacked is necessarily a good idea. That's all I'd say. But anyway, let's get started with the transfer news. Manchester United apparently monitoring the progress of Bournemouth midfielder Alex Scott. Now, Alex Scott is a lifelong Tottenham Hotspur fan. That doesn't mean, of course, that he can't move to Manchester United, but he's a lovely player, kind of Grealish-esque, rolls his socks down. I'd love to see him at Spurs. French Toast says, but we can't just keep changing manager, can we? Or do we stick it out? Well, that is an argument, but what I would say is, we're talking about Thomas Frank again, a lot of people saying, you can't expect things to happen quickly, but I disagree. Look at Sean Dyche as an example. Came into Nottingham Forest after a nightmare with Ange, and he's turned it around incredibly quickly and absolutely smashed us yesterday. So him and Unai Emery, I think, are good examples. But back to Alex Scott. Yeah, I'm not surprised that big clubs are interested in him. Such an exciting player. Bit of an injury record, though, which I think might scare a few people off. But I think Tottenham should be looking at him. We need progressive passes in the midfield. But this is another thing that I say a lot at the moment. All the clubs are chasing the same players because they put all the attributes they want into the data analysis systems that they use. And, of course, the computer spews out the same answers. So Tottenham and Man United are going to be after the same players. Tino on TikTok says, bring in Xavi. There was the first rumor I saw today that Xavi is potentially interesting the Spurs hierarchy as a potential next manager. I don't really understand with Xavi what went wrong at Barca. He won the league there, didn't he? Tino says he'd be my gaffer. Yeah, let's see what happens. French Toast says Lucas Williams-Barnett should be pushed into the first team. Kid looks unreal. Yeah, he's an exciting youngster, but so is Mikey Moore. So you can't rush these players in too early. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Alex Scott is more of a Man United player or a Spurs player? Where would you like to see him turn up next? He's actually just about to come on for Bournemouth now. Bournemouth have an injury in the first 3 minutes of this game, and Alex Scott is coming off the bench. So we'll get to see a little bit of his talent. Jamie Allsop on TikTok in the comments says, Harry till the end of the season, Poch next season. It is so funny when I see people suggest Harry Redknapp could come in as manager. What is it, like 13 years since he came in as Spurs manager before? No, mate, even longer, was it? 2008, 2009. So what are we looking at? Yeah, nearly 20 years. And since then, he was king of the jungle on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Can you imagine the abuse that we would get from other fans if we brought in the king of the jungle as Tottenham's next manager? I don't think so. Hilden Motivation says on TikTok, Tottenham fans, sack manager, lol. Who can do anything with these Tottenham players? I mean, it's just my opinion, but I think these Spurs players are a lot better talent-wise than their managers that they get are showing. So that's how I feel about it. Other transfer news. Ruben Amorim has spoken the last few days on whether Kobbie Mainoo asked to leave the club. He says, if Kobbie comes in and talks to me, I will talk to him. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say to Kobbie, but I will be really pleased if Kobbie is coming to talk to me about that. That's from Fabrizio Romano, the Don. There he is on my TikTok. But Kobbie Mainoo is a lovely player, but I don't know why he's kind of so both things. I don't know why he's kind of so unwilling to fight for his place at Man United, and I don't know why the manager is so keen on not playing him. But if United win tonight, they basically go 4th or 5th in the league, so they're not doing as badly as everyone thinks, which is a bit frustrating, to be honest. Napoli are set to resume talks with the representatives of Kobbie Mainoo. The 20-year-old Man United midfielder is being linked with a move in search of more minutes ahead of next summer's World Cup. I guess that is one good reason why he's kind of jonesing for a move. Napoli exploring a possible January loan. United have yet to signal whether they're willing to let him leave. Let's see what happens, I guess. I don't think I'd take him at Spurs at the moment. Is he progressive enough for what we need? We need a kind of Wharton-esque player. P-Type says we need to look at Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson, I've always liked him. Real class act. I actually texted my mate who's Welsh or pretends to be Welsh yesterday and said, why does nobody talk about Harry Wilson in the same way as I see him? And he's right. Yeah, he's an absolute player. But he, I think, gets injured quite a lot as well. I don't think his injury record is that great. And P-Type says Joachim Low wouldn't be a bad shout. I don't know. Joachim Low. Is he not? Who am I? Am I thinking about the wrong person? Is he the ex-manager of Germany? P-Type, tell me who you're talking about there. In terms of the Mo Salah stuff at Liverpool, that has been enjoyable to watch unfold. I'll tell you why it's been most enjoyable to watch unfold, because usually down the years, that's been Spurs who have suffered at the hands of their players desperately trying to get out of the club. And it's just a relief to see it happen somewhere else. But Virgil van Dijk has told Mo Salah he'd like him to stay at Liverpool amid speculation he could leave. Van Dijk said, of course I speak to him. I speak about everything with him. Of course I told him I want him to stay. The rest I'm not going to tell you. He said, I'd love to have him around because he's one of the leaders, but obviously the fact is he's going to AFCON. I wish him absolutely all the best. We'll be in contact over the next days and weeks. What did you guys think of Salah coming out in the mix zone and telling the press how he feels? We ask for these footballers all the time to kind of be more authentic and be less media trained, and then they do it and we all have a go at him. And P-Type says, yes, Joachim Löw is the manager who won the World Cup with them. I mean, he's most famous for kind of sniffing his balls, wasn't he, really, Joachim Löw, more recently. Steve Crossman asked about, presumably to replace Thomas Frank, the Brighton coach, Ursula. He's so young, isn't he? He's so young, but who knows? Hilden Motivation says, well said, talking about Salah, presumably well said, he's allowed to leave Liverpool. I just think with the Mo Salah thing is like, he thinks he's a bit bigger than the club, and maybe over the last few years he has the right to kind of say that. Great save by the Bournemouth keeper there, by the way. Got some Forest fans in the TikTok. Green Badge 1 says we needed a new keeper, talking about Guillermo Vicario. Bayern Munich could step up their interest in Nico Schlotterbeck. as uncertainty continues around Dayo Upamecano's contract. Liverpool also linked with Schlotterbeck, available at around 50 million euros, apparently. Yeah, good player. Liverpool looking for centre-backs, aren't they? I think they're slightly worried about the future of Virgil van Dijk, who obviously has a lot to say about his mate Mo Salah, as Casemiro bends one over the bar for Manchester United. Stuart Morris asks, what players do we need to win some games? So we need about 4 brilliant players. TJ says, why would Tottenham sack Frank? Time will surely improve things. I've seen better than Ange. I haven't seen much better than Nuno, let alone Ange. Ange in his first 10 games was brilliant, but I haven't seen much better than that. And P-Type says, also, we need to get Henderson from Palace in goal. Vicario is not good enough. Do I think Henderson is the answer? Not really sure, to be honest. I really like Diogo. I think I said it yesterday. I like Diogo Costa from Porto. Really good goalkeeper, and one that we could, we'd have to spend big on, but I think could be our goalkeeper for a long time to come. Don't forget, before, when we bought Hugo Lloris was one of the best keepers in the world, and people didn't think we needed that when we had Brad Friedel at the time. But Daniel Levy, to be fair to him, knew that we did, as Bournemouth come in there at the byline here in the box, and that's blocked by Luke Shaw for a corner. Veto38 says, would we be able to get Brennan Johnson back? Yeah, I'd say so. If Marinakis is willing to bid about 35-40 mil for him, I think Brennan would go back, that's for sure. Some other transfer news. Diego Simeone wants Mark Cucurella from Chelsea. I mean, why would you leave Chelsea? He must be on absolutely fucking wodge at Chelsea. I don't think you're going to leave there to go to Atletico Madrid. Although I think most players would love to play for Simeone. That's for sure. Veto38 asks regarding the Brennan Johnson thing: would Spurs trade with us? Yeah, I think under our new CEO Vinay Venkatesham, I think we'd probably trade with most. Hilden Motivation says Johnson is quality player, needs game time. He's very, very good, Brennan Johnson, at 2 things: finishing and running into space when there's lots of space ahead of him. Other than that, he's a little bit, he's kind of invisible in most games. So I think that's why Tottenham would probably think about potentially letting Brennan Johnson go. But I think he'd do well for Forest. If you're willing to spend that, like I said, 35-40, give Spurs most of the money they paid back for him. There's the Premier League club to Premier League club tax, the British player tax. So you've got to bid relatively high. But if you get that, you can, if you bid that, you can do it. But now Daniel Levy's left, I think Spurs will deal with Forest again, realistically. But in terms of Cucurella going to Atletico Madrid, I'd be very surprised. Vizizzo, thanks for your comments. Says Barnaby, I'm hearing rumours of Trafford coming in for January. What do you think? I don't think James Trafford is the size that we need for a goalkeeper. He's good with his feet, that's for sure. But we've got Kinski, who's good with his feet. And Kinski and Trafford, I think a little bit, both of their problems is they're not the biggest guys. So it's not Trafford for me. Like I said, Diogo Costa is where I would go. Like I see Tottenham's goalkeeping problem, as well as the problems that Tottenham have in their first team at the moment, I see as similar to when Liverpool went and bid and paid 150 million for Van Dijk and Alisson. Tottenham need to now really push the boat out more than they've ever done before to get players in who will genuinely change things. And if they can't do that, then it is going to be a matter of trying to wait till we magically stumble across the right manager for the right players we've got, like we did when we got Pochettino in. That's how I feel about it. Steve Crossman says, we haven't tried Johnson as a second striker with a diamond behind the front too. Steve, I hear a few people talking about this. He can't hold the ball up, Steve. He can't hold the ball up when he's on the right wing. He's not very good in technically required tight circumstances. So let alone is he going to hold the ball up when it's coming as a mid-range ball in from Christian Romero, for instance, with a big defender up his bum. So I can't agree with you on that, I'm afraid. He's not a player with good kind of skills in tight spaces. Oh, big chance United. That should be a goal. And is Manchester United. I think it's Ahmed, who's finished it in the end. It came from a cross. 1-0 to Manchester United, Old Trafford against Bournemouth. Brennan Johnson, like I said, he's elite at finishing at the back post, and he's a very good crosser of the ball on the run, and he's great at running into space he's got ahead of him. But there are too many games that Spurs play where realistically the teams don't set up to allow space in behind. I think Tottenham get in behind teams in terms of one-on-ones, for instance, less than any other team in the Premier League. So I really don't think that is going to work for Brennan Johnson. And that's also why he's not getting much game time. TJ says, I think our main problem is our midfield. We need big, strong, ball-playing midfield players. I agree with you, actually, and we were totally overrun. And I was thinking this today when I was on the tube. I was actually thinking all the way back to when Wenger was at Arsenal. They're looking at an offside. I don't think he will be offside, though, for that goal for Man United. When Wenger was at Arsenal, he won everything with a really physical spine. You know, the likes of Adams, Bold, Keown, Campbell, Petit, Vieira, all the way down the spine. And then he, I think, saw Barcelona winning everything via tiki-taka, right? And he thought, I want to do it that way. So he started buying and bringing through really young kids who were very small and technical, and it didn't work. And now I think one of the bits of credit you have to give to Mikel Arteta is he has seen that the teams who win the Premier League have a really physical spine. And when Spurs were at their best under Pochettino, what did we have? A really physical spine. Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Moussa Dembele, Wanyama, Dyer, all the way down the middle, Kane up front. And Tottenham don't have that now. And we came up against a team yesterday, Nottingham Forest, who just trampled all over us. They're still checking the offside here at Old Trafford. Look, if it's not clear and obvious, the goal's been given finally. If it's not clear and obvious, just push it through, for God's sake. It used to be the case that offside, if you were level, it went in the favour of the striker, but that never seems to happen anymore. Bill Beebe, hi mate, says, good evening. All still sore about yesterday's appalling display at Forest. Yes, I think it's fair to say we are, but we're also going through some Premier League transfer tittle-tattle as we do. And Mark Guehi has emerged as a leading transfer target for Manchester City as they prepare for an overhaul of their defence next summer. I think everybody's in for Guehi, really. Spurs tried to get him a couple of Januaries ago, didn't they? They bid quite high. And then Liverpool tried to get him last summer. And now I think he's just rightly going to see out his contract and have his choice. He might even have options in Spain as well, Mark Guehi. So he's dealt with it really well. I think Oliver Glasner is doing an unbelievable job at Crystal Palace. And frankly, I would take him at Spurs, Oliver Glasner. He's won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt. He's won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace. And he's got Palace up and around the top 4, top 5. So, that's a name I'd be looking at as and when the Thomas Frank experiment fails. One of my biggest problems with Thomas Frank, I have to say, is that even if I think about it in terms of how he talks, which is, you've got to be patient, this is a long-term project, nothing changes overnight, whatever. The issue I have is even when he had been at Brentford for, many, many years, last season I watched them and they were still just really direct and boring. Now I get it, they had less money to spend on players, etc., than Spurs do. But if we're supposed to kind of wait it out for Thomas Frank to, put all his layers in over a period of years, and then it's still drudgery in terms of the football, then I feel like it's not really worth it. That's my worry about Thomas Frank, I have to say. Man City, more Man City news. AC Milan exploring a move for Gabriel Jesus as they look to strengthen their attack. He's currently on £15 million a year wages, apparently. He's keen on regular minutes to boost his World Cup chances for Brazil. Surely Brazil aren't going to start the World Cup with Richarlison up front. Lovely guy, Rishi, but not a great number 9. Jay in TikTok says, Forest unbelievable yesterday. Spurs didn't have a chance. No, Forest did play well. Forest seemed like they were pissed off with Spurs. Spurs seem to have made an enemy out of every club in the land. Hilden Motivation asked, when is the transfer window open? January the 1st. So we're looking at 15 or 16 days. And Forest were way more up for it yesterday than Spurs were. Just trampled us really, really bad. Now, in terms of goalkeepers, we were talking earlier about who should be Tottenham's next goalkeeper. Well, Mark ter Stegen, could be available from Barca. Hansi Flick said, he's an amazing goalkeeper. And we have 3 of them. My words are clear. Joan Garcia is number 1 goalkeeper, so then we'll see what happens. Don't forget that Chesney is a key player for us as well. So could ter Stegen be available? Do Spurs want to go with a keeper who has loads and loads of experience? German international, of course. Back on Spurs, by the way, Roma tracking Matisse Tell as a potential attacking reinforcement. He's viewed as an alternative to Joshua Zirkzee, with Man United keen to keep him until the summer. No contact has been yet made with Spurs. That's according to reports in Italy. Hilden Motivation says Nick Pope. Nick Pope, why would he come to Spurs? I don't really know. Don't know why he would. Wayne, you also say you go for Dean Henderson. I'm not sure. Not sure about that. For me, it's Diogo Costa. That's where I would be going with it. Nicholas Fulkrug is in talks with AC Milan, apparently. Hilda Motivation says that Nick Pope isn't number one at Newcastle. I think he is. He's just been injured, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, West Ham, that experiment with Fulkrug hasn't really worked. Crystal Palace and Leeds apparently interested in Chelsea winger Raheem Sterling. They're desperate to get him off the books, aren't they? And Oliver Casson says, I don't think any of those keepers would want to come to Spurs. I completely agree with you, mate. I don't think they would either. But I think with Diogo Costa, who I think will want to move to the Premier League, I think if you can get the money right, it's very possible, just as Man United had a shot wide there. Here's an exciting one. Do you remember Paulo Dybala, Spurs fans, when we nearly got him? He is going to be a free transfer at the end of the season. So there could be a deal potentially that could be done for Paulo Dybala in January at quite cheap. And obviously Spurs do love a cheap deal in a January. So could that be one that Spurs go for? He would be an exciting player, but he is 32 years old now. So probably Spurs wouldn't, but somebody in the Prem might take a risk on Dybala. Another aging player who wants to come back to Europe, Thiago Silva. He has left Fluminense in Brazil and he wants to come back as a free agent. Arsenal's ex-fullback Tomiyasu has just signed for Ajax, according to Fabrizio Romano. And what I thought I'd do is just take you through the list of all of the out-of-contract players whose contracts run out in 2026. Upamecano from Bayern, Guehi, Palace, as we know, Konate at Liverpool, Dusan Vlahovic. He's always been linked from Juve with potential moves to the Premier League, including Spurs. Bernardo Silva from Man City, you'd think will probably go to the MLS. In terms of keepers, as we talked about, Mike Maignan, who's a brilliant keeper. His contract runs out from AC Milan. Julian Brandt at Dortmund. Ruben Neves, who's in Saudi, he has been linked with Spurs. He's still only, I think, 28. And his contract is running out in Saudi. So that could be interesting. Mikalenko at Everton, Quinton Timber, Feyenoord, Goretzka and Gnabry at Bayern Munich. Two brilliant players, contract running out. McKennie at Juve, he's always linked with the Premier League. Senesi at Bournemouth, Wilson at Fulham. Ryan Sessegnon only signed a short-term deal at Fulham. He's getting lots and lots of game time, but his contract runs out in 2026. John Stones at Man City. Fabinho, ex-Liverpool. Rico Henry at Brentford. I wonder if Thomas Frank will be trying to push to get him in. He's got a bad injury record, though. Frank Kessie, Antonio Rudiger, Real Madrid, Andy Robertson, Liverpool. And Meslier at Leeds United. He'll be a good backup keeper for someone. Harry Maguire at Man United. And Lewandowski at Barcelona. All those players, their contracts run out in 2026. So potentially deals that could be done in January. All right, guys. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you. Let's try and join me for daily or every other day transfer news in the evenings, where I'll also be doing Q&As with you guys, so we can all chat and talk about the transfers, potential transfers, and Tottenham stuff as we get close to the window opening. Let's face it, the Tottenham form is so bad at the moment that thinking we might be able to buy some players is one of the few things to look forward to as Man United get the ball in the box again, but do nothing with it. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, guys. Come on, you Spurs.